Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 8th meeting of the Senate Standing Committee on Judiciary. Appreciate everybody's patience. I want to go ahead and get started. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Berg.
Present.
Senator Carroll.
Here.
Senator Deneen. Senator Neal. Senator Schickel. Senator Stivers. Senator Storm. Senator Turner. Vice Chair Wheeler. Chair Westerfield.
Here. Seeing that we have a quorum and we are authorized to do business. Actually, do we have a quorum? 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah. Before we jump in, I want to recognize some guests of mine. I have 2 pages that are going to be with me on the floor later today. They are my nephews, Graham and Tate Westerfield, right here in the front. And their parents, Natalie and my brother, Chris Westerfield. Glad to have them up here with us today. They're getting to see their uncle get to see what I do every day. Mess things up, try to fix it. All right. Anybody else have any guests they want to recognize before we jump in? Seeing none. All right, we are not going to take up House Bill 5 yet, but we are going to take up House Bill 5, and I want to announce in here, for those that haven't seen the tweet that I shared or any other coverage, there is a 4th committee substitute, and I shared that as soon as I learned about it about 45 minutes ago. That is the 3rd Senate substitute, but with 2 omissions put in. 2 things that were left out of sub 3. Both of them were talked about Tuesday night during the nearly 2-hour meeting, and we'll get to that when we get to that and explain what that is. So PSS 4 is the sub that we anticipate moving forward with today. All right. And I thank you. PSS 4 is on the website. I have shared it. Members have it in your folders, and it was emailed about 20, 30 minutes ago as well. Thank you, Matt. And Matt's reminding me, if you're curious, if you see the committee page, you can scan the QR code and get to that meeting materials page very quickly instead of having to dig through LRC site to find it. All right. Do we have our House members for let's go ahead and call up Representative Nemes.
Let's call roll.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I thought he did. Yeah.
Okay.
We do it again. Representative Nemes, come on up for 277. An act relating to the public defender system and declaring an emergency. Representative, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 1963, the U.S. Supreme Court decided Gideon versus Wainwright. In the next decade, states unified their systems. Kentucky did so as well, but there were 3 that had already existed. One was in Ashland, one was in Fayette, and one was in Jefferson. Ashland and Fayette were brought into the system many years ago. Last year, we brought the Jefferson County Public Defender's Office into the statewide system. Since then, the locals and the state folks have been meeting together to cross the T's and dot the I's and come up with a bill that's before you on 277, which does things like ensures that the state will be able to assume the lease, get the property, and it resolves how we handle issues related with the employees. So I know we got a lot of important bills today. This is, I think, more of a housekeeping kind of bill. If there are any questions,
Is it fair to say that this enables the merger we approved the last time around?
That's right. And the locals and the state, the local corporation and the state DPA are all in support of the
Motion on the bill.
Got a motion from Senator Wheeler, a second from someone to the left of him, Senator Schickel. Any questions? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Berg. Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Deneen. Senator Neal. Senator Schickel. Senator Stivers. Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Turner.
Aye.
Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Chair Westerfield.
Aye. Bill passes with favorable expression.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll see if we can get House Bill 5 done that quickly.
That'd be super, but unlikely. The vote on that is 10 to nothing.
Motion for consent.
So moved and seconded by the chair. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's on consent. Thank you again, Representative. I appreciate that. Representative Elliott, Chairman Elliott, please come on down on House Bill 476, an act relating to the termination of parental rights. You have the floor, Chairman. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Good morning to everyone. So House Bill 476 would create a new section of KRS to allow a parent to voluntarily terminate his or her parental rights during the pendency of a dependency, abuse, or neglect action by filing the appropriate form that the AOC, which is laid out in the bill, but that the AOC would obviously authorize upon the finding of the family court that the termination is in the best interest of the child. And the rationale behind this is that it would avoid the unnecessary expense of a 625 action, which currently has to be filed in order for a parent to voluntarily or involuntarily terminate his or her rights.
Motion on the bill.
Got a motion from Senator Storm, a second from, who was that?
Second. No.
Thank you. Senator Wheeler, I'll give credit to. Any questions on the bill? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Berg. Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Deneen. Senator Neal. Senator Schickel. Senator Stivers. Senator Storm. Senator Turner. Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Chair Westerfield.
Aye. Bill passes with favorable expression,
Motion
10-0.
for consent.
Motion made and seconded by the chair to put on the consent calendar. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It should be on consent. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Meredith, come on down. House Bill 488, relating to an act relating to legal instruments. Please have your guests, when they're ready, introduce themselves, but you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. It's an honor to be before you today. Representative Michael Meredith with the 19th House District, Edmondson and Warren County.
Hi, Danielle Wilson.
Your mic's
Yes.
on there. Thank you.
Danielle Wilson. I represent the Kentucky Land Title Association, and I just want to say appreciate you all getting us in today.
House Bill 488 is a pretty straightforward bill. It just does clarify that mortgage modifications can be recorded within the county clerk's offices. We have a couple across the state that are having trouble getting those done in those counties. And it goes a little bit farther in saying that there are other things that can be done in a mortgage modification as far as extending credit and extending the dates on credit. It does, though. We were very, very specific to make sure that we protect lien holder priority, that first lien holders are protected, and that junior lien holders don't become deficient because of any action done by a first lien holder as well. That's what the bill does. If you've got any questions,
Motion
we'd
on
be
the
happy to
bill.
answer them.
Got a motion from Senator Wheeler, a second from Senator Storm. Any questions? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please once again call the roll.
Senator Berg. Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Deneen. Senator Neal. Senator Schickel. Senator Stivers. Senator Storm. Senator Turner. Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Chair Westerfield.
Aye. Bill passes with a favorable expression,
Motion for
10-0.
Thank you, Mr.
Vote.
Chairman.
All those in favor of consent, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It shall be on consent.
Appreciate you very much. Have a great day.
Senator Wheeler and Senator, who made the second on that consent motion? Who? Schickel. Thank you. Just want to make sure Matt and Robert have the right notes down here. Okay. Is Susan here? Representative Whitten? There she is. Come on up. House Bill 258, an act relating to the torture of a dog or cat. You have the floor, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to introduce myself. I'm Representative Susan Whitten from District 31. And I'll let my guest introduce himself.
Yes, my name is Jeff Calloway, and this is Ethan.
Welcome, Ethan.
He might have some testimony later on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'm here today because Kentucky needs to address the issue of torture pertaining to dogs and cats for the sake of all good pet owners and their pets. To give some history about this issue, 16 years ago, Senator Tom Buford saw the need to extrapolate cases of torture of dogs and cats from the animal cruelty statute. Torture is now classified as a Class D felony, albeit for subsequent offenses. Through this law, it was acknowledged that misdemeanors just don't fit certain extreme crimes of inflicted pain when they are intentional. This was a good start, and House Bill 258 intends to build on and improve what was done 16 years ago. Some of the problems with the existing statute is that it lacks any and all clear definitions of torture and serious physical injury or infirmity. The current statute does not mention restraints, one of the key conditions under which a pet can be tortured when it cannot escape. The exemptions in this statute are incomplete and do not cover instances that may be considered an infringement on owners' rights. And it refers to torture as a misdemeanor and only allows for felony charges on the second act. We also needed to ensure any concerns for good pet owners' rights or those of our hunters and farmers, good and respectable breeders and trainers were addressed. It was important that we listen to these groups' concerns to get these issues properly resolved, and that is what we did in the language in House Bill 258. It was presented to the Kentucky Farm Bureau, the game fowl breeders, and the houndsmen, and we received no further concerns. And now I'll briefly explain some of the changes that are in this bill. The specific definition of torture includes two types of torture, physical injury and infirmity, and the examples of these types are included in the bill. The definition of restraint stresses that a cat or dog has been intentionally made incapable of physically escaping and saving itself from the specific imposed torture. Examples of these restraints are also included in the bill, but all clarify this is intentional restraint and that the animal is allowed to suffer from cases of physical torture or infirmity. Without the condition of restraint, some cases might be considered accidental. Locked up in a cage is not enough to be charged with torture, but being intentionally starved, causing serious injury or death while being locked up and unable to escape does fit the definition. Wanton disregard has been added because these offenders know what the consequences of their torturous actions are going to be, and they have displayed a clear lack of care. We also included the exception of breed-specific alterations done by a veterinarian, including cropping of the ears and docking of the tails. All existing exemptions in the statute are still in place, as long as there is no intent or disregard that causes, increases, or prolongs the pain or suffering of the cat or dog.
Motion on the bill.
Got a motion from Senator Wheeler and a second from Senator Byrd. Any questions, members? Yeah, President Stivers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to make sure I understand what the legislation does, Ms. Witten, because as you know, I'm from quite a rural area, and you don't want to see things happen like this. But manually restrained, and I can see a circumstance, and please don't take this as a for or against the bill, but my dog runs out in the road. I don't have a veterinarian real close to me. Gets hit. I bring it in. I manually restrain it. It's going to die. And I do the necessary things. I'm just using this as an example, not that I've ever done this. But I do the necessary things to put it out of its misery. Well, I have manually restrained the dog, and I have done something that is going to create serious physical injury, but it is not my intent in any way to torture or prolong illness of this dog. Actually, it is the converse of that.
Correct. Thank you, Senator, for that question. That is why intent is so important and wanton disregard is so important in this bill. Those are the qualifiers that have to be met to qualify for torture. So in that instance, that would not be considered torture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Deneen.
Thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill. I would like for you to just reiterate. I've had some concerns from, say, farmers that may have kennels out on their farm that they use those dogs and they're hunting dogs. They may keep them in a kennel to maybe take care of coyotes and things that may come around their other farm animals. I want to make sure that you're on record as saying that those people, just because they keep those dogs in kennels or they keep a dog maybe tied up to a tree in the backyard by the chicken coop, in other words, those people are not going to be charged with a felony and potentially lose their rights to vote as a convicted felon.
Thank you, Senator Deneen. We have talked about this at length, and I appreciate your concerns and your concerns for your constituents. As I've said, you are correct. As I've said in testimony, locked in a cage does not constitute torture. It is when you are locked in a cage intentionally inflicting pain by starving, by lack of food. So those good farmers are certainly would not be in the scope of this bill.
Thank you.
Senator Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The way I read this, torture shall include situations where the extreme physical pain, serious physical injury, infirmity, or death results from restraint of a dog or cat. And then down there you've got under number 3, chained or tied down to restrict motion. Well, there was a dog that was below me for a long time that the only way they could keep that dog was it was chained. Okay? And sometimes it had a hair missing, and sometimes it got tied in the chain a little bit, but it stayed there for years till it broke loose and killed the dog over across the thing, and they had to get rid of it. But the way I would interpret that this torture then would meet that, even though those people had that dog for a purpose, but because of the chaining being used, and it was intended to be chained, that would be violating this situation. It was to be chained or tied down to restrict motion. And that was to keep it from getting out and killing other dogs and doing those kind of things. And then it got wrapped up in that chain. Accidentally, they would be subject to prosecution under this section.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, again, it is the intentional infliction of the physical injury or infirmity. So if there are accidental circumstances that happen by being restrained with a chain, that does not fit the definition of torture.
One follow-up, Mr. Chairman.
Very briefly.
All right. Physically restrained with tie, wraps, rope, chains, or tape in number 6. That I'm afraid that the court would interpret that, and that them tying it up with that chain would get them within your description there of getting prosecuted for a felony. And as my companion said over there, felony is a serious thing involving an animal. You lose your rights, too many rights for me.
Thank you, Senator. I do not take that lightly as well, and I'm just trying to assure you that while it is in the definition of a restraint, the intentional infliction does allow for those things to happen.
Senator Storm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following up on what President Stivers asked and Senator Deneen asked, you mentioned that you had consulted with some other entities about whether or not they were for the measure or against it, and I thought it was my understanding that the Coon Hunters Association and the Bird Hunters Associations were for the bill, but is it your testimony that they're neutral on the bill, or what's the status there?
It is my understanding that they are neutral on the bill, that they have no problem with the bill. They have not come out and endorsed the bill, but they have not. They have no problem with this language.
Thank you.
Senator Byrd, last question on this.
Thank you. First of all, I want to do a quick thank you for bringing Ethan here, and a quick shout out to my niece, Emily Bewley, who is the chief veterinarian at the Jefferson County Humane Society. I'm very, very proud of her and the work she does. And Representative, I want to thank you for your work on trying to get this bill. I understand 100% that your goal is to keep people from intentionally inflicting pain on domesticated cats and dogs. And the reason, guys, I think this bill is so important is because we know unequivocally that people who intentionally inflict pain on animals are dangerous to other humans as well. So thank you.
Did you have a question? Members, if you don't have a question, don't raise your hand. We don't have time today to get into anything else. So I know you want to make speeches, and I'm not calling any senator out because we've all done it. Today we don't have a lot of time for that. So don't raise your hand if you don't have a question to ask. I'll make a motion on the bill. There's a second from Senator Schickel? Just kidding. Is there another second? Second from Senator Byrd. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, no.
Either of you? All right. Any other questions? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Berg. Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Deneen.
Aye.
Senator Neal. Senator Schickel. Senator Stivers. Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Turner. Senator Wheeler. Chair Westerfield.
Aye. Bill passes with favorable expression on an 8-2 vote. Thank you, Representative. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Chairman.
you, sir, and thank you,
Thank
Ethan. All right, we're going to pass over House Bill 278 for today and get into House Bill 5. Members, on House Bill 5, as I announced earlier, and for anybody that didn't hear that announcement earlier, there is a PSS 4 in your folders. That represents everything in PSS 3, which was previously shared and discussed, but includes two parts that were omitted from PSS 3 inadvertently. One of those is the language that prohibits multiple charges for similar offenses, so you can't be charged with, for instance, carjacking and robbery first. Prosecutors have to choose one or the other. Their elements are not identical, but they're so close that similar facts could charge in both cases. That language prohibits the stacking of those charges. And then the second omission was language regarding evidence-based programming for the GVI language. Anything else omitted that I'm? All right. So those were the two things that are now in 4 that were not in 3. 4 is the only one before us. I'd love for 1 to be the sub that we're calling, but I don't have the votes.
Motion for adoption, PSS 4.
Got a motion from Senator President to adopt PSS 4 and a second from, I think, Schickel or Deneen. Deneen. All those in favor of adopting the sub, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Nay. The sub is adopted. Representative Baumann, I'm going to let you speak briefly, but we've got a lot of people that want to speak in opposition that I want to give time to. So if you have any opening remarks very briefly you want to share, I'll let you have that, or anybody else on the team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My opening remarks, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, are directed at Mr. Chairman Westerfield. I deeply appreciate the opportunity, again, to be before your committee today, and I deeply appreciate you engaging with us in a constructive way so we could help sharpen this bill and make a couple small changes to improve it. So thank you. And with that, I would like to yield to Ryan Strahl, who's on Zoom here, so he can get on with his day, and then we'll move forward with the rest of the folks at the table.
Mr. Strahl, go ahead.
Chairman Westerfield, thank you so much. Members of the committee, my name is Ryan Strahl. I'm the Kentucky State Fraternal Order of Police Vice President and Governmental Affairs Director. I do want to say a special thank you to Chairman Westerfield for offering the opportunity for a Zoom link. I am in California on national FOP business on behalf of our Kentucky FOP members, so I had to leave this week, so I'm sorry I can't be in person on this important piece of legislation. We've testified, obviously, in favor of House Bill 5 over in the House. We've been very public about our support of it. But I want to say that House Bill 5 contains many different parts that speak to our officers who are out there protecting our communities. It says that, we live, we work, we play in these communities, and that the legislature has heard our cries for help, that crime is out of control, that we have major issues in the Commonwealth, and that at some point we have to acknowledge that that problem continues to grow out of control as we have less law enforcement on the streets, but more crime there as well. I think we are fooling ourselves if we don't say that we have a crime problem in here. And again, I understand the controversial nature of the bill, but I can say unequivocally that the FOP, when presented with this piece of legislation, was excited to see that we had legislators, not just in Jefferson County, the ones that crafted the bill, but across the state, finally say, we want to sit down and we want to hear your concerns, and we're going to make a piece of legislation that is going to truly transform the way Kentucky conducts business when it comes to crime and how we're going to protect our citizens better. I do want to clear up any misconceptions that there may be. Law enforcement by no means is looking to go out and just arrest individuals as easy as possible. We want to see help. And as I shared in the House committee testimony from the FOP, we look at the bill, and although I see where opposition could look at that and see a lot of negatives, I have to agree with Representative Ballman, Representative Nemes, and others that this bill, we're trying to get people into treatment. Law enforcement wants to see that. I know that legislators that are in support want to see that, and I would argue that even those in opposition probably are interested in getting these folks treatment as well. I know that there are various parts of the bill that don't deal with treatment, but increase penalties or do some other things that may be viewed as a little harsh. But I can tell you that until we address these issues and maybe take a little tough love outlook on some of the crime in our state, law enforcement is going to continue to struggle to keep a hold of our community safety. And from a recruitment and retention standpoint, which the FOP obviously cares greatly about, it's hard to continue promoting Kentucky as a destination for law enforcement, which I truly believe it is, if we don't continue to improve the laws that we have on the books and put new ones in that potentially could, make it advantageous for someone to keep a career in law enforcement here. I know everyone wants to have their law enforcement feel supported and want to feel a part of the community. But I can tell you that House Bill 5 has far-reaching reaching ideas for law enforcement, not just the crime part of it, which I know is going to be the focus here today. But for us, we look at it as a thank you and a we hear you from the legislature in saying that, we understand that you guys are saying there's a crime problem. We're seeing it. And so we're going to do something about it now. And so, Chairman Westerfield, I'll end my testimony with this. I am grateful for your transparency, also for Senator Schickel as well. Obviously we engage on social media, the FOP, with legislators, and I can tell you that this bill alone has been one that we've been able to engage back and forth on. And I appreciate the transparency from everyone in working. We keep updated on that. And so, again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to address the committee from California, and I'll sit back and take any questions if necessary and listen in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Straw. Travel safely.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just I didn't know if Mr. Straw needed to get on with his day, so I wanted him to go first. I'll just let our other guests here introduce themselves.
I'm Emily Calloway, and I represent the 37th District, which is Jefferson and Bullitt.
My name is Ronnie Bowling. I'm on behalf of the Kentucky Commonwealth Attorneys Association, and we're here in support of House Bill 5, specifically the expansion of violent crime. House Bill 5 takes a common sense approach, so crimes like attempted murder, manslaughter causing the death or near death of other individuals are punished more severely, and most commonly that is seen in domestic violence situations. Sadly, in our experience, a lot of attempted murder cases, which right now is nonviolent under Kentucky law, are domestic violence situations. So a chronic victim who has been forced to face their accuser in court is seeing the parole board within 12 to 18 months after that trial, and it never gives a chance for healing, and it never gives a chance for public safety. We're also in firm support of the 3 strikes provision, as well as expanded penalties for those who harm or kill first responders. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be very, very, very brief. I want to say that this House Bill 5 represents a both-and approach to crime, not an either-or. We have, as Representative Ballman said on Tuesday, and as the governor said in his State of the Commonwealth, we have in Kentucky, and I'm very proud of this, I think we all are, we have more treatment beds per capita in Kentucky than any other state in the country. I think that's wonderful. The House budget doubled down on that. The Senate budget doubled down on that, and I'm confident the final budget will double down on that as well. So this is either or. We're going to hear a lot later on about this is too harsh, this is too harsh. In Kentucky, we're trying to do both treatment and put violent people away from a long time. I wanted to say one statistic that I should have said the other day, and that is 10 years ago, Louisville was hovering around 80 murders a year. In the last 4 years, we've had 150, 164, 188, and 182. That's just the flat-out murders. That's not the people who are getting shot and saved because our medical industry is doing much better than they were before. But violent crime in Kentucky is spiraling out of control. And if you measure it year by year, it's just a little bit of an uptick or a little bit of a downtick. 10 years ago, we were at 80, which was an all-time high. 80, we would pray for 80. We would do cartwheels for 80. We're almost double that. In Lexington, 2 years ago, shattered its record for murders. And so that's where we are in Kentucky. And so we have to arrest that, and that's what we're trying to do with this both-and approach to crime. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else?
That'll be all, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to turn my mic off. I'll ask you all to step down, and I've got a lot of people. I'm going to try to accommodate as many as I can. I'm going to start. Senator Berg, do you have a question of them? Okay, go ahead. Before y'all walk too far away, Senator Berg, go ahead and ask your question. Go ahead and ask your question.
In my experience as a physician working in the emergency room at one of the 2 level 1 trauma centers that we have in this state, the prevalence of guns and the availability of guns for our children has skyrocketed. We have 13 and 14-year-old children with access to guns that are shooting each other. Does this bill do anything to address access to guns for our minors in this state? Does it make any effort to curb that?
Thank you for the question, Senator Berg. It does not. That would not be germane to the bill, but it would be a separate bill. Access to guns for juveniles.
So, Mr. Chairman, it does not directly. There are 2 provisions that do go to the issue, though. One is if an adult uses a child for their crime, and a lot of the children are getting their guns from adults, then that is a heightened penalty. Also, the other one is that if you use a gun in the commission of your crime, then you're not eligible for parole or probation. So in those 2 indirect ways, it does. Now, the mayor of Louisville has come to us with some other suggestions that hopefully we can run next year to address that more directly. But what we always hear, we don't take gun crime seriously. House Bill 5 does. As I said the other day, and I'll be very quick, as I said the other day, when I looked at the murder, the people who are charged with murder, they almost always have a previous, before they murdered somebody, have a previous charge of unlawful possession of a firearm, which is almost always dismissed or merged. No more dismissing and merging. Keep that charge on the books. We want to take gun crimes seriously. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you all. No further questions at this time. I'm going to move to our other presenters. I understand. I see it, Senator Neal. I'm sorry. We can continue asking these questions, but the people, some of whom have been here now 2 meetings in a row to speak against the bill, we're limiting their time to speak against the bill. I'd like to call because I committed to this and they've made the trip over here. There's a student here from St. Francis Academy that wants to testify briefly, 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you. Miss Ellie Keeley Fire, is that right? Yes. Come on up. Good morning, ma'am. You have the floor. Make sure, is your mic button on?
Okay.
There you go.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Ellie Keeley Fine, and I represent the 8th grade class at St. Francis of Assisi in Louisville, Kentucky. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate Judiciary Committee, esteemed senators, we come before you today deeply appreciative of the time you have dedicated to public service and for the guidance that your wisdom creates. We are grateful for the time you have given us to speak. For the past year, my class has spent over 2,000 hours serving the homeless and witnessing the trauma and hopelessness that defines the sacred spaces in which they live. We bring you the lessons of our heart and of our faith and ask you to reconsider House Bill 5. Others have testified with facts and statistics. We come today witnessing from our faith in God and our faith in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We know many homeless people whose lives have been evicted from the hearts and caring of our society. We understand the homeless as they sleep abandoned on the city streets to be our family. We pray for them as if they were our mothers and fathers, brothers or sisters. Treating those with no home as our family will help us to create a legislation grounded in mercy that the God of all faiths hopes we will share with all people. It will help us to resist the temptation of casting off the vulnerable. It will stop us from believing that we have solved a problem when instead we have made the victims invisible. As the future leaders of Kentucky, we know our state motto is United we stand, divided we fall. We want our state to be known as a place which truly understands that we are called to hold tightly to one another's lives, as we welcome the stranger and provide refuge for those seeking shelter from life's traumas and storms. We hope it will be clear that we are our brother's keeper. Let the compassion, kindness, and inclusivity that have always allowed Kentuckians to unite against life's hardest challenges be woven into the fabric of House Bill 5. We implore you to reconsider House Bill 5 and to take into consideration the complexities of homelessness. Let our laws provide a safe place for those in need to sleep openly in the short term and be a starting point for finding solutions and to the tragedy of homelessness. Let the laws we pass show the nation that Kentuckians are united in treating all people of the Commonwealth with dignity and respect. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Keeley Fine, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. And
Thank you.
I also want to thank your teacher, Mr. Whitaker, who was very kind and persistent to email and be patient as he waited for me to respond through our mutual friend. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I want to call up George Eklund with the Coalition for the Homeless, who I think has a group of folks he's going to try to shepherd through here as quickly as possible. George, you take it from here.
Yes, I will.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for those, my name is George Eklund. I am with the Coalition for the Homeless as the Director of Education Advocacy. And I appreciate sincerely the latitude that you're giving me during this counter testimony for House Bill 5. For the past couple months, over 100 organizations and countless Kentuckians have stepped up to engage with you all, to email the House, to email the Senate, to meet with you in your offices, to email you about their concerns with House Bill 5. They've relied on their lived experience in the proximity to the issues and legislation to inform the General Assembly. We are opposed to this bill because, as one advocate said, it identifies problems and punishments, but it lacks real lasting solutions to make Kentucky safe. Everyone against this bill also wants a safe community. We want to go to the playground without fear. We want to go down the street. We want to be able to call Kentucky home. Like any legislation, House Bill 5 is going to have unintended consequences. The travesty is that the collateral damage in House Bill 5 stands to compound our most complex challenges without proactively preventing any of their harms. The speakers that I will bring forward before this committee are experts in their lived experience as Kentuckians in their proximity to the issues that the bill is trying to address. They are also working towards a safer Kentucky. So we're just going to go down the line and yes.
I will let you, but before you do that, we do have two questions. First from President Stivers.
Yes, President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the young lady who made the presentation before and to this group. I think I hear you all making a reference to the homelessness issue in this bill. And what I want to refer you to is what Representative Nema said, and want to know if people are aware of, I believe, $10 million that was put in the Senate budget to match a substantial investment that was done by a group of bankers in Lexington, which I think is closer to $20 to $30 million to deal with the homelessness issue, which would have various components of substance use disorder treatment, mental health treatment, access to health care, and access to adequate and sufficient housing. And then on top of that, and this was a Democratic initiative, I'm pretty well known as a Republican, but I have to call it the way you see it. Mayor Greenberg, and as we did this also in the Senate, put $22.5 million into the C3 campus that they are developing on a piece of property and that was reported, which does seek to address the underlying problems and what Mr. Straw is speaking of about not wanting to arrest homeless, but seek, again, treatment for substance use disorder, mental health, and create housing opportunities for the homeless, the infirmed, and the veterans. So are these the type of things you're looking at to look at the root problems, not the manifestation for which we have to deal with at some point in time?
Yes, Senator. President. The reality right now is Kentucky, the need is up here, and we haven't put money into this problem of a housing to address those that are earning the least for decades. So that is the kind of down payment that we need to build on for the next coming years. And those are the kind of innovations that we need in every community, because this is a Commonwealth-wide problem. And it speaks to 30% of our homeless population, of those that have substance use disorder or severe mental illness. But what we have is a compounding issue because of rising rents, because of our lack of affordable housing, where we're having families sleeping in cars, where we have young people that are couch surfing or sleeping in a library while they're trying to get their education. So it is going to become a bigger issue without that kind of investment. So I'm really glad that you highlighted that investment from the Senate budget.
Senator Wheeler.
President Stivers' question encompassed sort of where I was going with it, but I think you just stated that 30% of homeless people generally have a substance abuse problem of some type. I mean, my guess, at least, and again, this is purely based upon when I go to a larger city, which is, not that often, but often enough when you see it, I would think that that's much higher. And why do you feel, as Representative Nemes stated, this bill is not an either or, this is a both and we have the largest number of treatment beds currently in the nation? Why do you not see that, or why do you disagree that this bill could be utilized to get these people the help they need in the form of treatment for either their mental health or their drug addiction?
Yeah, so Senator, I'm going to start this answer and then I'm going to pass it to Tara to finish it. So, in Louisville, we have 1,600 people that are homeless each night. It's about 37% in Louisville have SMI or SUD. We have the treatment beds, which is a huge investment and a huge asset for our communities, but affordable housing is an issue for everyone. A treatment bed is a clinical setting that is great for getting people detoxed. What we lack is like a continuum of housing options for those that are exiting treatment after that 28th day. And I'm going to pass it to Tara to kind of finish this up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Tara Hyden, I'm with People Advocating Recovery. And just to echo or encourage in response to that question, so there are a lot of reasons why individuals are not able to access some of those beds. We discussed them on the House side as well, some of the issues where individuals are unable to access treatment at a variety of different levels. And then those who are able to access, once they get into treatment, maybe they have a high level of care and receive treatment for 28 days, they are then right back in the same situation. So there isn't a strong pathway to ensure that there is a stabilization once individuals leave treatment.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Absolutely.
The bill also does allow a city like Louisville to set up a space for encampment if they so choose, does it not?
So there is language that empowers the city to do that. The reality is that it is zoning specifically for commercial and industrial, and that is 16% of our land mass in Jefferson County. You also have to look at other factors of where are spaces that are on bus lines. What is it proximate to? Is it proximate to Rubber Town that people are going to be exposed to, just fumes from a plant? The other piece is that there's no parameters in the legislation to kind of give more meat and supports for people that are going to go to a space like that. For me, a sanctioned encampment is a measure of last resort, and I don't think we're there yet in Louisville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You can proceed with your panel there.
All right.
Keep in mind we've got 15 minutes left.
Okay. Ooh.
Thank you so much, Chair Westerfield and Senators. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Stephanie Johnson, and I am statewide organizer and grow coordinator for Vocal Kentucky. I have 25 plus years of lived experience with substance use disorder. I was in and out of the judicial system throughout that time, 6 plus years of homelessness. I'm now in my placement at Vocal Kentucky to be a voice for those that don't have one. So now that I'm a productive member of society, I must speak up about House Bill 5. So even with the provisions made, this bill still includes multiple policies that increase mass incarceration because it will place even more people in already overcrowded jails throughout our great state of Kentucky. Currently, 2/3 of them are over capacity with inhumane conditions. This includes incarcerating people pre-trial because they're too poor to afford the bill. Let me not forget to mention that it crowds out funding for solutions that actually do make us safer by investing in people. It also completely negates and threatens the work that Vocal Kentucky and so many other organizations dedicate their lives and souls to on a 24-hour daily and nightly basis. It's taxpayer money going towards ineffective, debunked solutions supported by data of an entirely different state. So if we're going to copy off of another state, let's take a look at Oklahoma. They're actually number 1 in the country for the lowest recidivism rate with fewer prisons. So even if we did have the correct data for Kentucky, we cannot arrest our way out of poverty and into a solution that has no positive resolve. Yes, the House majority is in favor of this bill. However, I am quite sure that the majority of Kentuckians are not.
Good morning. Thank you, Senators. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Mandy Fugit-Scheffel. I'm a small business owner in Hazard, and I also work for the Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky on issues related to criminal justice reform. I'm here to speak in opposition to the proposed committee substitutes to House Bill 5. I run the Red Spotted Newt bookstore in Hazard. I started my shop 15 years in recovery from OxyContin addiction. I'm a proud entrepreneur in a place that is struggling to build a sustainable economy, and I'm proud that as a person in recovery, I can meaningfully contribute to my community. If the provisions harshly criminalizing addiction and limiting opportunity for recovery in House Bill 5 had been in place when I was struggling, I would not likely be in front of you here today. In Eastern Kentucky, our jails are already overcrowded, and we don't need to be spending money on new jails. In Perry County, the jail is at around 155% of its capacity right now, and overcrowding is common across the whole region. If this bill passes, it will force us to devote even more of our county budgets to incarcerating our unconvicted neighbors. Our counties in the coal fields are already struggling with lack of money to pay for basic necessities we need for healthy communities. After the floods of 2022, we are in a profound housing crisis. We don't always have reliable access to clean water. We don't have good transportation for older folks to get to medical appointments. If this bill passes, it will force rural economies to devote even more of our limited county budgets to incarceration. I'd rather see the $25 a day that it takes to keep someone in jail spent on services that actually help our communities, like safe and stable housing, workforce development, and access to treatment. I don't want my community governed by Louisville politics. Rural incarceration is already 3 times higher than what it is in Louisville. I worry about our neighbors who work in rural coalfield jails. With jails so full, House Bill 5 will mean that even more get crowded, putting everyone, especially staff, at risk. House Bill 5 does not answer the needs of Kentucky, and it will put on an especially hard burden on already distressed communities in Eastern Kentucky. I ask you today to vote no on the proposed committee substitutions to House Bill 5, and if the bill should come before you for vote. Thank you.
Hello, again, I'm Tara Hyde with People Advocating Recovery. And I just want to say I have discussed and raised my concerns with the sponsor, and we've had several different discussions. And I do want to thank you all for allowing us time for us to vent out our frustrations and our concerns on some of the language and provisions in this bill. I have several different concerns that I'd love to raise, but unfortunately, due to time, I'm unable, and I want to raise some really specific ones that I can talk to today. First, I'd like to say that I'm a person in long-term recovery, and what that means to me is that I've lived a life of resilience for the past 13 years. And given all of the incredible resources and access points that I was given as a young person, as a young white woman in recovery, I was able to find my way out. Some of these provisions that I'm going to talk about today, specifically the fentanyl enhancements that we are really, really concerned about, will cause people to not call in the event of an overdose. That is real, because the threat of incarceration is real. And then now, even further, we are adding additional enhancements to the penal code for fentanyl. Again, perpetuating the war on drugs, because this is very systemic, looking back at the crack and cocaine epidemic in the 80s, right? We've seen this wave. We've seen this wave of mass incarceration as a response to the drug crisis in our country. This is not going to help people. And additionally, the fentanyl enhancements, we're not targeting. I know that we've said that we want to target the traffickers and the drug dealers. We're going to target everyone. It casts a very wide net. So I just want to call attention to that and how that is going to be problematic, and people will die. People's lives are hanging in the balance. And we definitely want to make sure that we call attention to this issue.
I need to give you the last. These two ladies can speak, but that probably needs to be the end.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Kimberly Bottom. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. And the first, I got a little thing to read. It says, first they came by Kentucky homelessness. First they came for the mentally ill homeless. And I did not speak out because I was not mentally ill. They came for the physically ill homeless, and I did not speak out because I was not physically ill. Then they came for the disabled homeless, and I did not speak out because I was not disabled. They came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. Today is a rainy day fund, and they have $5 billion in there, and I feel like that they should be able to get that.
Hi, my name is Catherine Watts. I wanted to speak against House Bill 5 because these people who are suffering with homelessness on the streets are ill. Only 30-something% of them have substance use issues. You would never be able to guess who has a homeless loved one. This is a picture of my son and I. And I've also had an uncle who has suffered with homelessness. These are people that you love. It has a stigma, and you don't know who your coworker is that has a homeless loved one. And each of us, it could easily be you.
Thank you so much, Chairman and members of the committee. And I appreciate everybody who came up on Tuesday, who have come up today to share their story, because it's not easy to come up here and be in front of you all. We want to be part of the solution. There are going to be ramifications from this legislation, and we hope that you'll have an open door when we bring them to you to work to remedy them in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Eklund. We've got just enough time for a vote. Is there a motion on the bill as amended by the sub?
Motion on the bill.
From Senator Wheeler. Is there a second? Second from Senator Storm. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll. Members, I'll let you explain your vote. You got 30 seconds. You got to make a floor speech, save it for the floor. I'll let you explain your vote here, but we've got 4 minutes left and 10 of us to explain. We don't have a minute apiece to give you.
Senator Berg.
Explain my no vote.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that everybody in this state wants safer communities. There's no question that that is our goal. However, I feel that this legislation is honestly fiscally horrendously inappropriate. It is plagiarized from another state with data that does not meet Kentucky. Kentucky has a lower crime rate and a higher incarceration rate than any of our surrounding neighbors. If you think we are going to incarcerate our way out of this problem, you are wrong.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Deneen. Senator Neal.
I'd like to explain my no vote.
Yes, sir.
Data appears inadequate. Cost impacts are not sufficiently considered. The crime status is not, I think, is misrepresented. And I think that this is a quick fix for something that requires a long-term evaluation to achieve a solution.
Senator Schickel.
I vote aye. I'd like to explain my vote.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone who's testified here today. I was especially touched by the testimony from people that are homeless. You know, I have people in my immediate family who've experienced this, and we just quite simply see it from a different point of view.
Senator Stivers. Aye. Senator Storm.
Explain my yes vote.
Yes, sir.
Initially, I was concerned about House Bill 5, and as we engage in a multilateral negotiation between the House and the Senate, there's been many, many hours put in on this bill by many different groups and advocacy groups and those that support the bill, those that are against the bill. But when I look at it, I vote yes because it does protect first responders that are in the lawful performance of their duties. We also added Section 53 to the bill, which protects juveniles. It's a framework to establish facilitate protection of juveniles that hopefully will never be involved in the three strikes provisions or these other provisions that are concerns. So for that reason, I vote aye.
Senator Turner.
Explain my vote.
Yes, sir.
I join with my senator good friend from Laurel, and everything he said I agree with. And I also had a great deal of work with the presenters that this bill, and they changed some things, and I feel very comfortable with it. That's the basis of my voting aye.
Senator Wheeler.
Mr. Chairman, explain my aye vote.
Yes, sir.
Again, I want to commend the bill sponsors for all their hard work and really making this, I think, a good final product. We do have a crime problem in Kentucky, and I think this bill will go a long way to address it by a multilateral approach. It gives people an option to improve their lives and get better by utilizing treatment, yet at the same time, it protects society from repeat violent offenders. You know, our people who are innocent deserve protections too. And I think that's what House Bill 5 does. Thank you.
Chair Westerfield.
I vote no. Bill passes with favorable expression on a 7-3 vote, if I'm not mistaken. All right. I want to thank everybody for being here. I'll explain my vote when the bill hits the floor. I appreciate everybody being here, and I appreciate the patience, and especially want to thank the 4 people that I didn't get to on the list that signed up to speak. If you want to provide written testimony that we can provide to the committee, I'm happy to do that. With no further business before the committee, we stand adjourned.